Hi everybody, it's Christina from Card Making Magic. Sometimes a card just lends itself to being made flat, and once it's done it just pops into a standard envelope ready for posting. Or you may wish to, you may sell your cards. So in that case you can put the envelope and your card into a cellophane wrapper, and that's ready to sell or to store for you to use yourself later on. But if you're going to sell them, don't forget to add your contact details in the envelope, or you can actually stamp or print your name on the back of the card so that people know how to get in touch with you. But if, like me, you like to make cards with dimension on them, there's no way you're going to get a card with that kind of height on it into an envelope. So you need to make a box. And this is what I'm going to show you how to do. Now, the easiest way to make a card is to just buy your cardstock and fold it in half. This is a standard A4 sheet of card, and it's approximately 30 centimeters by 21, and if you're working in imperial, then that's 11 3/4 inches by 8 1/4 inches. And just by folding that in half, you now get an A5 card. So to start making the box base, I have bought a metal ruler. It has centimeters on one part and inches on the other half, and if you flip it over it's got inches on the back of it anyway. So we're going to work with both metric and imperial, but you can only use one or the other for your card. Measure in 2.5 centimeters, and I always make a template first. Now 2.5 centimeters is roughly an inch, so measure it at the top, measure it at the bottom, and for your template just join the dots. Then from the side you're going to measure in 2.5 centimeters, and again at the other side, and join those up. Once you've made the template, it's there for all time. You can use it whenever you want, and you're going to do the same on the other side, so that around each edge you've got 2.5 centimeters. Now once you put your A5 card in there, you can see that the box is going to be too big, so from one of the short edges measure in another 2.5 centimeters, make a mark and join them up. And this now becomes surplus, so you can cut that off, and that's your box base ready to assemble. So to work on the box top, your measurements are slightly different. So you're going to measure in from each side approximately 2.3 centimeters and make your little marks and your lines, and you're going to do that around 3 of the sides. Now on the other side you're going to measure, and 2.3 centimeters is about 7/8 of an inch for imperial users. So on this side you're going to measure in your 2.5 centimeters as you did before, but from that line you're going to measure in now 2.3 centimeters, about 7/8 of an inch, and again that becomes surplus, so you can cut that off, and that's your top to your box. So once you've cut the surplus off, and you should have now 2 pieces, one is your base and one is your top, and obviously on your good stuff you're not going to have all this writing and the lines. But now you need to crease and fold all these edges, and if you have a scoreboard it's not a problem, you can just do it, but if you don't, use the wrong side of a mouse mat and your metal ruler. This is a little bone folder, and all you're going to do is very carefully crease along that line, and you're going to go around all the sides of it, and then you're going to fold it up and crease it nice and sharply so that you have all 4 sides folded in. And you're going to do the same with the top. So here we are now working on the good stuff. The practice sheets have been put to one side and I'm confident enough now to make the boxes. So we've folded in all the sides nice and sharply and creased them. And now we're going to work on this little corner. There's a corner on each one. We're just going to work on that little square. So with your scissors, just cut up along the edge on the square. Now on the left hand side of the square, you're just going to cut out a little triangle. And that makes it easy to just fold the box up to make the corner. And sometimes the top edge just sticks over the top of the longer part. So it's difficult to trim that off once you've made the box. So we're just going to trim off the right hand edge as well. So now we have that shape in the corner. And you're going to repeat that process on all the corners, on both the top and the base. So there we have the top and the bottom all cut and scored, ready to glue. So we're just going to put the top to one side for now and work on the base. So if you turn it so that it's the wrong side is face down, and you're going to need a wet glue. Don't use double-sided tape, it dries out and your box will fall to pieces. So what I've got is some colourful household pegs, and on each of the little corner bits you're just going to add your wet glue. And then if you fold it in and make sure the corners are lined up, you just peg it in place till it dries. And you're going to repeat that on all 4 of the corners. But once you've glued your corners in place and you've got your pegs holding it together, just pop it on one side to dry. Now we can work on the lid, and you can make your lid as plain or as fancy as you want it to be. What you can do is pick out an element on the card that you wish to show and make yourself an aperture. And it's better to do that now before you actually build up the base at the top, because it's difficult to do it once it's assembled. So this is the card I'm going to put in a box, and I want this part of the card to show. So there's the lid, and once it's all glued it will go on in that position. So I want the aperture to be in the lower left corner. Now of course once I turn it over I'm going to forget where it is, so I'm just going to make a little mark on the card. That's where I want my aperture to be. Now you can either cut your aperture out with any die cuts that you've got, but if you don't have the die cuts then you can do it freehand. A little mark there where I want my aperture to be. Now obviously you're not going to cut along the fold lines, because if you do your box will just fall to pieces. But if you take your metal ruler and just cut say an inch in, or 2.25 centimetres in, and just cut yourself an aperture. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. And once you've done that, if you take your double-sided tape and just go around the edge, and then to this double-sided tape you're just going to add your little sheet of acetate. So remove the backing from your acetate and just from your double-sided tape, and just pop your acetate on top and press it down. Okay, and now you can go ahead, flip it back over so that this wrong side is facing down, glue the corners and make your box up in the same way you did the base. So here we are with the box completed, and while it was flat I've decorated the front. Now just as a final touch, once the card is in the box, you can now see that it fits perfectly, the flowers are visible through it, and what I've done is I've cut myself a little circle and I've added some flowers the same as the ones in the box, and I'm now just going to add this to the front of the box. Trusty pin flare glue, just squirt some on with from your syringe, and I'm just going to add that as a finishing touch to the box. And it still looks a little bit plain, so I thought I would just add some butterflies. We'll have the other one there. And of course every butterfly needs a butterfly trail. So this is a Sakura pen, and I'm just going to make little dashes to indicate the butterfly trail for each one. There we go, and there's one here on the end. And there is the box with the card in it.